a big hand. Give him a big, big, big hand. You know why? Because I didn't bring 50 cents an hour for his babysitting today, so maybe he'll be happy with the applause. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. I once led an elephant, I don't know how much he weighed, probably 2 tons, into Boston Square Garden. 16,000 people, full house. I blew a whistle and said, "Welcome to the circus," on behalf of ABC TV. I had no fear. I had no fear, Tamara, because my daddy made me say my memory verses when I was a little kid, too. There hath no temptation taken you, but such is common to man. But God is... Trust me, if I get started, I can go all day. So I have no fear of speaking. But there is something a little intimidating about standing in front of a room of 150 stellar, sophisticated, smooth-talking Toastmasters, having to follow Tamara, give her a hand, having to follow Pat, having to follow all the contestants who are going to change the world. And so I want my whistle back, okay? I would even trade this for an elephant. You are a little bit intimidating. But I know that you are more than just Toastmasters, as if that isn't enough. I know that you are dream makers. All of your messages, every message we heard today, has been delivered full of possibility and full of hope. And that means the audiences you reach believe that you can help them and your message can help them make their dreams come true. So I salute you for that. I also know that you are mentors, that you work with the young who come behind us, you work with the timid, you work with the knock-you-need people, and you turn them into great speakers. So for all of that and much more, I thank you so very, very much for this award. I thank you very, very much for inviting me here today to speak, and I'll get over it, all right? You say that the theme of this conference is handle it. Well, I have heard that before, and I love it, and here's why I've heard it before. When I would take a problem to my daddy, he would simply say, "Next." And I would say, "Yeah, but that. Next." Like there's no time for a problem, just handle it. So I love your theme. How many of you sometimes look like this? Okay, here we go. You got a cranky boss. You got a bad job. You got a cranky husband. You got a husband who drinks too much. You got a wife who spends too much. You got a wife whose voice sounds like mine for 2 hours, nagging in your ear all day long. You got a kid who looks goth. You got another one on drugs. You don't have any more money, and you're exhausted. Life throws some garbage at us and some obstacles. Now, this isn't exactly an obstacle yet, because she's not 13. But she is my biggest concern at the moment. Never mind, her mother once told me she was going to marry a biker. But here she is, Caden Alexandra Moore. She's 7 years old. This was her first day of school. I think 2 skirts must be better than 1, don't you think? And we did have to send a note home to the teacher saying, she dresses herself, chooses what she's going to wear for the day. And before she hopped the bus that day, she had the nerve to take off those glasses and run back and throw them to her mom at the car and say, "I don't want the kids on the bus to laugh at me." At which point her mother said, "You go, girlfriend." So here she is in the middle when I took her to a grandmother, mother-daughter luncheon. And she's a little frisky and rascally, a lot of fun, and so I was a little worried when the MC said, "We would like all the children to stand up and say your name and say how old you are." So they go like this. "Hi, my name is Jack and I'm 7. Hi, my name is Robin, I'm 12. Hi, my name is Judy and I'm 13. You couldn't hear a word they said. Caden stands up and takes a deep breath, and I hadn't warned her. She goes, I'm Caden, and I'm 7, and that's it, and sat down. Her first speaking engagement, wasn't she good? Good. Uh-huh. And now she's a cheerleader. Who ever heard of a 7-year-old cheerleader? I don't know what this world is coming to. But here's the concern. The teacher says she's a little too social, and she talks a little too much, and she doesn't sit in her seat all the time. And so she gets a little thing on the sheet that the teacher sends home that says, needs to get ready to learn. And I thought, this kid doesn't have a chance. Her great-granddaddy was a storefront evangelical rip-roaring preacher. I've made a living for 40 years by speaking. Her mother is the #1 DJ in Fredericksburg, and we're all too social, and we all talk too much. She doesn't have a chance. In fact, when I started to look for a name for my little company, I went to this big brander. I paid her a lot of money. And I came out with some stories to tell. She helped me corral my stories. And I came out feeling confident that I could speak and that I could coach people. Felt really great. And I came home and I said to Sully, my wonderful husband right here, I said, Sully, I didn't get a name. He says, why don't you just call it Fox Talks, because you sure as heck do. So my poor granddaughter doesn't have a chance. On your tables, you'll find some little Speak Tweaks books. Those are just a few little things that sharpen people's speaking skills. And you're the last people on earth who needed them, but I thought I would drop one off for you as well. So, once in a while, life just absolutely throws an obstacle in your way. And I want to talk to you about what I do to overcome them and what I've experienced in trying to overcome them. The first thing is, we get the garbage, don't we? Did you remember that list? I'm glad y'all didn't start raising your hands on all of those things I mentioned. But we get garbage thrown at us. It comes from every direction. But I'm here to tell you, it doesn't take a bulldozer. I've got a secret. It also doesn't mean you need a major overhaul. You don't have to start from scratch. You don't have to know the outcome or the answer before you start.
So I know this is your trademark thing and everything, and I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I don't want to hear more smile, I think. Let's make it a little bigger. That was too big. That was great. It was just too many hoes. You lost a little joviality there. That's a little evil. A little phlegmy, I think. That's not how I wrote it.
So we get advice from every corner, don't we? We don't even need all of that to be able to overcome our obstacles. In fact, I follow a very serious philosopher. This is my philosophy of life right here. Look inside yourself. You are more than what you have become. Look inside yourself, for you are more than what you've already become. Isn't that freedom? That means there's more to come for us. It also means we've arrived here. I believe that we can figure out how to work on our obstacles by just using what I call tweaks, micro acts that can impact your potential, can maximize your power zone tomorrow. Just a few little tweaks, not that major overhaul. Here's what I mean. How many of you have bought the Get Rich books? And you still wail at the wallet? How many of you have bought the diet books? The daughter says, I'm the queen of the diet books. And we wail at the scale, don't we? I'm surprised y'all raised your hands at that. And then how many, never mind. See this one? My husband says, don't bother with that Get Organized book. And if you saw the back of my car, you would know why he says that. But what happens? We know all of this information. When you get out of here today, you're going to have a lot of new information. But what happens? Why do we stay stuck? What happens? Who said nothing? Who said nothing? I heard it over here. Somebody said nothing happens. Didn't somebody say it right here? You're going to miss out if you don't know. Thank you very much, Tamara. And here's how this works. You answer one of my questions, you get a cake pop, all right? So there you go. You can take one and hang on to it. You can be the passer-upper, okay? So now why do we do nothing? What? Who said fear? Give the fear person a... Oh, sure, the skinny girl gets a cake pop. Tamara, give her 2 cake pops, all right? She needs to eat more. And who said something over here? Tired, too tired. Give her one. I vote for that. What else? Yes, that's the answer on top of all of these that I'm looking for. It's too much. We walk out of here overwhelmed. We don't have a starting point. The starting point doesn't have to be big. One company figured that out. You can almost do this. Put on the blindfold, spin yourself around 3 times, and pin the tail on the donkey, and wherever it lands, at least you did something. Stick a pin in some direction and do something. When you're on the edge of the starting line, you don't necessarily have to know the finish line. Just start. And so somebody figured it out. What's 200 calories? Costs $2. Comes on a stick. Come on, y'all. A cake pop. Who said cake pop? Okay. Just because, oh, he really wants one, and he's worked very hard today. He's worked very hard. He can have a couple, too. Exactly. Now, where do you buy these cake pops?
At the cake pop store.
No. Oh, right here. Right here. Tamara, this lady right here said it first, but you can give them to anybody who said it. Starbucks. How many of you have seen those big apple fritters with the craters of goo in them? Now, I would have brought one to use as a prop, but I would have eaten it on the way here. How many of you would love to have one of those? How many of you want to be seen eating one? Nobody, not in this health-conscious world we live in. So Starbucks takes 2 bites of cake, they stick it on a stick, they charge you $2, we eat it, and what happened to their pastry revenues? Straight up. So I'm here to tell you that a little dab will do you. A little tiny tweak in some direction will get you off that dime and give you a huge result. And I think there are 3 R's. 3 R's right inside of us. I rely on them all the time. And I know you're in this room because you've relied on them too. So the answers to our problems, to overcoming our obstacles, are not out there. Take your hands and go like this. Simon says, it's right here. And here's the first one. What does a baby do when a baby falls down? Pops back up. Exactly. Most of the time, you hope. And then, anybody in here old enough to remember who this is? Who said, Tamara, you're not old enough for that, but you can have a cake pop anyway. You're doing a good job. Okay. Rosie the Riveter. And look at her motto. We can do it. Say that. That feels good. We can do it. Whatever it is, that's our resourcefulness. And who knows who this is? Who said that? Who said? Right over here, Dr. Mae Jemison, the first African-American female astronaut. Now, I am not a man basher. I kind of like him. But can you even begin to imagine the maze of men that she had to wind her way through to get to wear that orange suit? Can you even imagine the family members she had to say, it's going to be okay, I'll be safe? Can you imagine the resolve that it took for her to achieve? We all have it in us. That's Janet Ray Fox, corner Montgomery and Locust Streets, Shelbyville, Indiana. Trust me, it's across the street from the factories and in the middle of cornfields. I took my husband one year to my high school reunion, and I took him down through a country road to a restaurant, and he said, how do you know at each one of these corners which way to turn, because there are cornfields on every corner? You just know, you just know. But take a look at the roof falling down. Take a look at my brother's filthy, dirty knees. Take a look at the weeds along the fence. Take a look at the broken glass in the window. and I'm in Jonna Drake's hand-me-down dress. And this is my mother. Isn't she gorgeous? I would walk down the street with my mom, and people would say, "Hi, little Foxy, you're cute, but your mama, she's gorgeous." "Hi, little Foxy, how you doing? You know you got a beautiful mama." Don't you know that set up 60 years? Who am I kidding? That set up 67 years of not quite feeling good enough, because she's really beautiful. But this is her razor strap. And that razor strap left ugly, ugly welts up the back of my legs. And one time it left the circular welt of the other end on my eye. And so I told people at school that I dropped my hairbrush and I hit the doorknob on the way down to pick it up. We now know that she was really tormented, really chronically depressed. She had a speaking voice that looks like this, sounds like this. "Look, you little," and fill in the blanks. And my father was lovingly referred to, "Look, you old horses," fill in the blank. She had a growl. She foamed at the mouth with rage at times. So nobody in my neighborhood, and definitely nobody in my family, cried when she packed her old 40 Econoline van and she threw in her fishing poles, her hunting rifles, and her boxer dog Duke. And she headed west to Idaho. My mom found the town of Dixie. There's one road in and one road out and 8 houses, and chances are pretty good you could go a long time without having to say hi to anybody. That would make her happy. She got a job working in the Nez Perce Indian Reservation as a forest ranger's aide. And this is my daddy's house. This is after it got fixed up. It was sold for $17,000. It was a hovel inside, filth and neglect, full of mold. But my mom would come home every Christmas for 2 weeks, and she would raise heck about how he kept her house. Her house was messy. Couldn't figure it out. But then one day, she couldn't come for Christmas. And I said to my daughter, who was 15 at the time, I said, "Let's go out to Idaho and find Grammy." "Are you kidding, Ma? She'll kill us." That was the real answer, a real answer that came out of a child's fear of her grandma. But we went and we found her. And this little old lady, sucking oxygen, actually hair about this color, curled up on her head, bent over, came to the door. "Well, what'd you girls lose out here?" After not seeing her for a very long period of time. So we go in. First thing we did was wash dishes for 3 days, but that's another whole story. And she got really sick. And Channel 9 gave me 6 weeks to take care of my mother. So at the end of my time, I had nothing left to do but put this woman who loved the wide open spaces in a nursing home. And so I stood at her bed and I said, "Mom, I love you very much, but I have to go back to work. I'll be back in 2 weeks, and I wish we had made different decisions along the way. This wouldn't be our only choice today." My mom, through the oxygen tent, said, "Janet, I love you too. I thank you for all your care. And me too." I think that "me too" was the first time I ever heard my mother say she was maybe sorry for something. And that "I love you" was the first time I ever heard my mother say, "I love you." What happened in that moment to free me of all the fear and the hatred and the resentment? What happened? Did she start it? Did I take it on, even if it wasn't necessarily all mine? I did. So my 2 lines erased a lifetime of pain and fear. So just think for a second about a big obstacle in your life or a person who's keeping you from feeling that kind of freedom, and ask yourself this question: can I do something, even if it's not mine to hold? Can I write a note? Can I send an email? Can I make a phone call? You got something in your mind's eye right now? Raise your right hands. Repeat after me, everybody. I hereby solemnly swear. Take care of that by close of business on Monday. And you too can find some freedom in your life. And all of this story I've told you is just a story of resilience. And you have it too. Some of you in here had it worse than I will ever have it, I'm sure. But we've exercised our resilience over and over and over again. So if we're facing another obstacle in our lives, we ought to be able to look at it and handle it. Do you agree? We have evidence of that. Now, when I wanted something as a kid, my dad had a one-word answer for that too. Work. Did you work for it? Work. You got to work. So when my brother went off to play Little League, I took over his newspaper route. And then I went to work in my old Uncle Gene's filthy shoe shop. So there I am with shoe glue and shoe dust and an old apron, and all my friends from the fancy side of town came in to pick up their shoes on Saturday morning, and I was making change behind the cash register. But I didn't care. I had 50 cents every Saturday morning. And I had $2.20. See how I remember these numbers? I can't balance my checkbook, but I remember these numbers. $2.20 a month for my brother's newspaper. I was the only kid, probably in a 10-block radius, who had a little spending money in my pocket. And I was going to have it come heck or high water. So how did that kid ever get here? Any idea? I can't explain it. I didn't have what color is your parachute. I never heard of something like a goal sheet. Make your list of goals. I didn't have any real role models except maybe now she bought a hen house. The hens wouldn't lay the eggs. She put all the eggs inside of her shirt. She's going to put them in the egg baskets for the hens to learn how to lay eggs. Ricky comes home. He wants to practice the tango, and this is what we get. The longest running laugh in TV, so there was no role model for this. But I got a call. I got a call from a talk show in Boston, out of the blue. Yes? You want me to be on TV on Sunday morning? Yes, I think I can handle that. Now, there's a long story there and a lot of people who helped along the way. But I finally got this shot. I am so excited. I tell all of my family. I tell all of my friends. And I tell two ladies in the grocery store line who didn't even know me that I was going to be on TV on Sunday morning. I'm sure they were thrilled for me. I was so excited. So, the talk show host is the most gorgeous woman on the planet. I hid her face. If you know who it is, don't tell her, because she really is the sweetest person on the planet. This was just a fluke of a day. So she doesn't walk into the newsroom like I might. She walks into the studio with the most elegance a woman can muster. And a waft of what I am sure is very expensive perfume is left behind her. And she doesn't sit on the couch. She perches. So from her perch, let's go to Jan Fox out in the field at the race. Yes, I am Jan Fox. I'm out at the Satch Sanders celebrity race, and I can see the racers, and they're coming down the street, and I will speak to them soon, and soon I will interview them, and so soon, back to you in the studio. Thank you, Jan, and someday you will learn you don't have to yell. You have on a microphone. I am dissed. Pat, were you the one who mentioned the big hole? I wanted the big hole in that concrete sidewalk I was standing on to just swallow me, eat me live. I am totally embarrassed. I just can't believe this has happened to me on live television with everybody watching, probably the two women in the grocery store line. It's over. This dream I had for a fleeting 2 days is over. I get back to the station. I get a phone call. I'm sure it's somebody telling me I did a great job. Yes. I have a sibilant S. My S whistles. I need speech therapy? So I'm dissed on live TV. I now have been invited, cordially invited, by a speech therapist to speech therapy because I suck. My voice sounds like a whistling S. So I know it's over. I know it's over. And then I heard it. And then I heard it. My daddy's voice in this ear. Foxy, little Foxy, you get right on out there. You do that speech therapy. You do that speech therapy. You keep your eye on the big prize. Keep your eye on the big prize. I went to speech therapy. I fixed the S. I fixed the S because my daddy's voice came in my ear. Speaking of somebody who lifts you up, that man lifted me up. He prayed for me in front of an old mirror in the bathroom every day. Lord, bless Janet. She's out there in that murder capital of the world, and you keep her so safe, Lord, because I don't know what could happen to her. Every day from the time I was little, my daddy prayed a prayer for me and my brother. And Virginia, she's out in the wilderness. You know we don't know where she is. You better keep your hand on her. He lifted us up. He couldn't loan me money, but he lifted me up in his spirit. And so what happened? I got the job. That talk show host left. I took her place. And so I got to interview Bill Clinton. I got to interview George Bush. There will be no boos or yays here. This is not a political commentary. I got to interview Jimmy Carter. And they each taught me something they didn't know they were teaching me. Bill Clinton said, you better shake hands like you mean it or why bother? So I'm going to ask you to do it. See that little jiggly thing? Stick that little jiggly thing right in your neighbor's thing and make it a good handshake. Feel it? All right. There you go. If any of you got handed a wet fish, you come see me later, point them out, and I'll take care of that for you. And then George Bush, I saw him at a golf tournament. He said, well, how did you do, Miss Fox? And I went, you know how golfers do. Yeah. And he said, stop right there. Did you have some beautiful shots out there? I said, yes, I did. He said, from this day forward, I want you to only talk about the beautiful shots. What a message. Just talk about the beautiful shots. Maxine wouldn't have gotten a hold of you, right? She's got you out here talking about beautiful shots. Wasn't she beautiful today? Beautiful spirit today. And then, this was my favorite, Jimmy Carter. He brought 10 little houses to Benning Road in Southeast, built them in a week, 10 houses with Habitat for Humanity. And he said to me, all you have to do, Miss Fox, is work till you sway it. Work till you sway it. I think I heard that before from my daddy's ear. But it's all I know. It's all I know today. I could be knitting. I'm 67. I should be in a rocking chair knitting, and I can't help myself. I'm still working because there's still jobs to do. And here's Byron Kelly. Byron Kelly is one of the little boys who got a house. He got his own room for the first time in his life, and he planted a bush out front. And I said, wait a minute. Let me get my cameraman. We took a picture of Byron planting his bush out front of his house. And I said, you call me when this little bush is blooming, you call me and we'll come take another picture of it. Hi, Miss Fox, you don't remember me, but this is Byron and my bush is a bloom. And I said, we'll be right out. Hi, Miss Fox, you don't remember me, but I'm getting baptized at the Thankful Baptist Church. I'll be there. Hi, Miss Fox, you probably don't remember me, but it's 6th grade and I'm graduating from 6th grade. Would you come? I'll be there. And then he got a little older. Hi, Miss Fox. I was wondering if I could have an internship at Channel 9. We'll work that out, Byron. And we did. And a couple of years later, I'm sitting at my desk, and in walks Byron. I said, Byron, what are you doing here? He said, I got a job. I'm an assistant director here. I left Channel 9 in great hands. So you never know whose life you're going to touch some way just because somebody comes to town and works till he sweats. So that's why he was my favorite. I also had a chance to interview lots of celebrities along the way. Now, yes, people always ask me who is my favorite. It's Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton's my favorite. And I do not have to ask this group. I usually ask folks, could I be a little politically incorrect here? But I heard your jokes. So where is that woman who said she had a clean joke? Thank you, honey. You set my bar very low. Thank you. Thank you so much. So what's the first question you would want to ask Dolly Parton? Who said that? Who said that? That's sweet. Look at this sweet little thing, Tamara, and she said that. Right here. So she said it, I didn't. But every talk show host got invited to a big hotel in Texas, and we all got to interview Dolly for 10 minutes. So everybody was going to ask that question. And they were talking about how they were going to get her to answer that question. So I would sit by the door, and as they would come out, I'd say, did she answer? Nope. Did she answer you? No. Did she answer you? No. She just laughed. So I think, Tamara, you like the prom princess? I think I'm the interview princess. I'm going to get her to answer this question, right? So I carve out a really great question. Dolly, is there ever a time when you want to take the wigs off, flip those fingernails off, let the air out of those things if you can, and just be Dolly Rebecca Parton-Dean? I tried to slip it in. Oh, honey, I just like painting in part. Oh, honey, I just like, what am I trying to say? Painting in powder. This is just like a good barn. You can paint it up so it looks pretty, but when you take the paint off, it's still a dang good barn. I have no idea if they're real. None. But what I know is I got the soundbite of the day. I was thrilled. It was the soundbite of the day. And more importantly, I had the opportunity to get to do what you do. I had the opportunity to help people with that job because, like our beautiful woman who talked about having a purpose, I knew that that job was given to me for a purpose. Anybody remember Tom Warner jumped out of his little yellow truck saying, "Hi, I'm the super plumber"? Well, he was super cheating people all over this area. And so we had him having to pay millions in fines to 2 state governments, consumer affairs offices. Because once you let one little cat out of the bag, a whole bunch more cheated people want to tell you their stories too. And then former employees want to. He had the gall to buy a bumper sticker for the back of his little trucks that said, Channel 9 News. And he put a big circle with a red line through it. Made me happy. Made me happy. And then how many of you had your car seats checked at a fire station or a police station along the way? Yes, you did. My little consumer unit. It was the producer who had 3 kids, not me. She had 3 little kids. Had the idea, let's call the Prince George's Fire Department, the Fairfax County Police Department, and the Safe Kids Coalition. Let's have a big meeting in the conference room, and let's set up car seat checks. And you know, we did them until they were then done the world over. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I slept well after every one of those car seat checks because the notes rolled in. We were in an accident. My 2 little boys were in the back seat. The tire of another car was right up against my little boy's cheek, and they were both safe. That was a huge opportunity dropped in my lap to do that. And then, of course, I did every recall known to man, from lettuce to all those Toyotas that didn't work. I even had to do, every Valentine's Day, I had to do the roses, the cheapest roses in town. So now, Tamara, I was about to curse you for putting a whammy on my PowerPoint, but luckily it popped up. All right. Remember how she said they always fall down? I held my breath after she said that. But you know, those are great things. There were 14 GM or news director changes in 19 years in that place. Do you know what that means? You feel like a ping pong ball. Oh, you're doing a great job. Oh, you really are not doing a great job. You need to change. Okay, you're really good. It was terrible and was all at their whim. And every time one of them would come, this is what would happen. There would be a tug of war between the we, the they, the old, the new, the oh my God, here's a rabbit popping out of the hat again. What's he going to say this time? That's what it was like in there. And one of them fired 9 people. I said the word fired. Fired 9 people over the age of 50 in a year and a half. I was left standing. I wasn't the prettiest. I wasn't the best writer. I wasn't probably the most agreeable. I wasn't the best of anything. I did get the job done. But I was left standing for several more years. I have no idea why. I think this whole Channel 9 thing, you know what I think it was? I think it was the great Toastmaster in the sky looking down on us saying, okay, Foxy, here's a path. You just walk it. I'm laying this path. You just walk it. Now we're going to have to tweak the path sometimes, so you just tweak a different direction. Just do it. And that's how I ended up lasting for 20 years at Channel 9. I'm so grateful. I'm grateful. My photographers and my photographers and my editors, we even won 4 Emmys together. No kid on the corner of Montgomery and Locust Streets knows what an Emmy is. So you know that was a miracle. That was a miracle put in my lap. I think it's because of this. This is another daddy saying, here we go. Opportunity knocks, in walks Janet Fox. You say it and see what power comes to you. Opportunity knocks. No, you don't say Janet Fox. I'm sorry. Those were faulty directions. Just put your name after it, okay? Opportunity knocks, in walks. Yeah, I don't know who said it over here, but you're right, it doesn't rhyme. But you get the idea. And that's all I did. I saw a little sliding door open a half an inch, and I stuck myself in. And that's what I call resourcefulness. And all of you are where you are today, in this room, making a difference the way you're making a difference, because you have that deep in your soul. It's in there, and you know it. Am I right? My daddy would say, could I hear an amen? I think this is the last R. She's got it. Are you going to fight with that little kid? Is she going to get what she wants? I don't know what she wants, but I'm going to give it to her because I know what's going to come out of that mouth if you don't. And this is how we feel sometimes. Don't we feel like throwing a tantrum when life throws bad stuff at us? No. You know what your bulletin says. You know what your brochure says. Just handle it. I want you to get steely-eyed resolve. I saw this magazine at a grocery store, and I said, that's the best eye contact I've ever seen. And I do a lot of work teaching people to be a little bit better at speaking. And so I said, wow, I wonder how she does that. Oh, she's got black dots. I'll teach everybody to look at the black dots of the eyeballs of the person they're speaking to. And I'll teach them to listen by looking at the black dots, and I do that, and I even remember more. Don't you remember that, Sully, when we get home, because you'll ask me why I didn't remember something, and then you'll say, you weren't looking at my black dots, were you? But watch this. I go down to the checkout. I'm in the checkout here, putting my stuff on the belt. I get down to pay the guy, and I kind of, she is still looking at me. I go down to the end to pick up my bags, and I go, she's still looking at me. I go back and buy the magazine. Now, watch this. She's looking straight at you, right? But the mister in the purple shirt, is she looking at you too? She likes him. Okay, what about over here? Is she kind of still looking at you too? But is she still looking at you? I don't know what that is, but I want you to have it. I want you to have steely-eyed resolve to tweak something, to just tweak a little something to move you off your stuck dime or to move you around an obstacle. Now, I know when you're sitting down listening to a speaker, you hate it when the speaker says, could I just get you all to stand up for a minute? Because I hate it. But would you please just stand up for 1 minute? I want to just show you one little thing. If you can, if you can. I'm doing you a favor. Shake like this, all that mashed potatoes we ate will go down. All right? Weren't those delicious? Now, I want you to just give me your at-rest position. This is mine. I have my mother's back. I told my husband to remind me if I wasn't standing up straight. It's the bane of my existence. But here's your at-rest position, right? Now just lift a half an inch. A half an inch. Tell me right now what you felt. Go back down. Just a half an inch, a couple inches. What did you feel? Who's energy right there? Energy. That's a big cake pop. What else? Confidence. Power. Now, if you add, we can do it to that, you've got steely-eyed resolve. Now, before you sit down, I think that sometimes all it takes when we're standing in front of an obstacle is a change in perspective. So pretend you're staring that obstacle in the face right now. Got it? Turn a 45-degree angle. That's like 3 or 4 inches with your feet, that's all. You have a whole new perspective on what that obstacle looks like. Am I right? Now come over here. Do it the other way. You have another perspective. Now, I happen to notice this morning that this looks pretty crazy, like I'm asking you to stand on the ceiling. But all I really meant for that to be is turn around. Just turn around where you are. You have another whole perspective on that obstacle. So you now have at least 3 or 4 more little tweaks you can try. You can sit down. Thank you. You were good sports. I want to show you how one of those little tweaks helped me one time. I came into Channel 9 for my interview. I got called in for an interview. I was so excited. And so they called in 4 or 5 people, mostly men. Then they called in another couple. And then they call in this guy, and he has a coiffed hairstyle. He has on shiny shoes. And get this, he had initials on his cuffs. I knew this was somebody important. And it was the general manager. And after a little conversation, he said, Miss Fox, I would like for you to have this job. I would like for you to come work with us. Oh, thank you so much. I am thrilled beyond words. I am so grateful. I just cannot believe this is happening to me. I get to work in the nation's capital at the #1 station at the time. I was so excited. And then, guess what happened? Nothing. Guess what happened after 2 weeks? Guess what happened after 2.5 weeks? So in those days, we didn't have email, so I called Miss Vivian Birch. Could I please speak to Dave Pierce? Well, who's calling? Jan Fox. Oh, I'm afraid I'll have to take a message. Nothing worked. I couldn't get an answer about when the supposed contract was coming. So I'm walking down the street in Portland, Maine. I was working at the NBC station, and I was a little dejected, wouldn't you say? After not hearing about this big dream possibility. And I'm walking down the street. And I see a sign that right here out of my peripheral vision. It says, "Will ship anywhere." I go into Harbor Fish Market, and I buy 2 of these bad boys. I stick 2 of them in a box, and I stick a note in the box, and I say, it would be very difficult to leave these bad boys behind, but for you I would. I want your job. Now, guess what happened the next day? I got the call. The contract's in the mail. It was just a little tweak. Make your feet go like that where you're sitting. That's all it was. I just tweaked myself a little different direction. And somewhere between where the tweak started and where it ended, I had 2 lobsters in a box going to Washington, D.C. It was a miracle. Now, my husband loves it when I do this speech because he knows he's going to eat well this evening. But for you, honey, I'm sorry, but you have to go back in your little box here. So I call that resolve. Do whatever it takes. Handle it. Just do whatever it takes. Handle it. And that's steely-eyed resolve. So when you're facing them, when you're facing the detours, the wrong turns, when you're facing the obstacles, and you have to call on your 3 R's of resilience, resourcefulness, and resolve, go home. Look in the mirror. It's in you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Thank you.